Good morning. We are live. It's 7 a.m. Pacific time out here on the West Coast. And we're going to go through a couple topics today, hopefully improve the quality of your life by improving your mind, your body, and your business. Let's get started. I'm your host, Coach Daryl Johnson. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you're having a fantastic, amazing, spectacular, stupendous, and whatever other superlative would make your day better. So in this podcast is Livestream. We're going to go over we are going to go over three topics: one involving the mind, one involving the body, and one involving your business. Although they all work together, it's just important to understand. You can be making bank and just killing it in the world of business, and rolling fat in your dollars, but if your mind is not right, if you're super anxious, if you're depressed or worried all the time, or if you're unhealthy and sick, it's not going to matter, guys. You got to do all three. So they all matter. So we are going to attack all of them. So today we're going to talk about, with the mind part, we're going to talk about the scarcity mindset and the prevalence of it, the dangers of it, and some ways to maybe work around it. So scarcity mindset. Excuse me. Scarcity mindset basically means that you are concerned that you do not have enough of something, or there will not be enough of something in the future. And I'm going to quickly go through this chart I have on the screen here. Scarcity means you focus on limitations of a situation, quick to point out the negatives. There's only so much to go around mindset. Well, we're going to talk about that. Goals are just to fix problems. They require lots of work and time and motivation that wears out. You're focusing on things outside your control, leading you to worry because you can't handle it and there's nothing you can do about it, and tend to focus on what's lacking in your life and get stuck there. Let's take a break from that. So, and I can't overemphasize how important this mindset is, and I have been on many occasions guilty of this, and still are. The most positive, successful people in the world still suffer from scarcity mindset occasionally, but it's a transitory thing. They move out of that feeling very quickly. I grew up. I always called American poor because being poor in America is different than being poor in like some really poor countries. Yet it's all relative. You see people in your environment and on the TV. They have things. They're successful. They have the hot guy, the hot girl. They have the nice car. They have the house. They have the vacations. And so you feel like sometimes you feel like, oh, I don't have that, and I wish I had that, and I can't do it because I'm not them, or I'm lacking X, Y, Z. And I want to go into in my opinion, the simplest and most powerful part of the scarcity mindset, and this is the belief that there's a limit on what is available to have, and that if somebody has a lot, you by default have less. And this is a ridiculous mindset, but it's so prevalent. I mean, it's people like, oh, the rich have everything, and we gotta tax them more, and we gotta take from them because they have it, which means we don't. And the reason we don't have it is because they have it, and this is an absolutely ridiculous mindset. One thing that the human history has taught us is that we are incredibly innovative, and we create a lot of problems. No doubt, humans create lots of problems, but we are amazing at solving problems. We are amazing at coming up with interesting solutions to problems that seem unsurmountable. Whether it's a problem of enough abundance, or of access, or of adversity, we are able to solve the problems. We always have. So when I see somebody, when I see somebody who has a lot of something, or is successful, or is doing well, rather than like be jealous of them, I'm like, I ask, well, what are they doing that I can learn from? How do they achieve this? And is there a way I can model this? There's a common belief, or a common sensation, or I guess sensation. I guess belief would be a better word. Where people who are wealthy, they're just born into it, and there are some. And what I found in my life, and I've known lots of people who are, well, you would consider wealthy, is the people who are memorable for being wealthy because they're obnoxious, the trust fund kids, the entertainers, are the exception to the rule. By and large, people who are doing well for themselves and have a good amount of wealth and success, they aren't always the same, are generally down to earth. I wouldn't say they were super humble. One of the, and I believe this goes with the scarcity mindset, is if you believe that being wealthy makes you a dick, then you are going to be like, well, the reason I'm not wealthy is because I'm a nice guy. So I'm not, if being wealthy means I have to be obnoxious and rude, well, by gosh, I'm just going to stay poor. And it's a rationalization, because you want to believe that anybody who is wealthy is obnoxious and unpleasant and no one wants to be around them. So therefore, that's your out why you don't have anything, why you don't have success or money or status or all these things. And this is really a limiting belief. And again, in my experience personally, the vast majority of people that I know that are very successful financially, or even in that just have social standing, are really cool people. And also what I find is that if they are successful, they're usually really, really interested in helping others achieve success too. The caveat is that people who have things are willing to help you have things if you're willing to work for things. What they don't generally look forward to doing is simply just giving you stuff, because they usually worked for it. And this is where I think a lot of people go wrong. Like, well, these billionaires and millionaires, they should just, they have so much, they should just give it away to people who don't have it. And that doesn't really work. There's a bit, I've read this on many occasions, and this concept is like, if you took all the money from everybody today, and everybody was equal, across the planet, everybody had $5 to their name, the people who are wealthy today would be wealthy in 5 years. People who are broke today will be broke in 5 years. Just look at the people who win the lottery. Your average Joe who makes very little money, they all of a sudden win several $1 million. And very often, within a very short period of time, they are back to where they were before, or worse off, or they've been robbed or murdered for their money, and it's just crazy. So, the people who are building wealth, the entrepreneurs, the investors, most of them are that way because they have two things, in my opinion. They have, and most importantly, they have the abundance mindset, and they have developed skills to help them achieve the level of success. Now, here's the good news. Both of those things can be learned. You can learn to have an abundance mindset, and you can learn skills to achieve wealth or success. Again, I keep saying wealth. Not everybody's version of success is being really, really, really rich. Maybe you are just a very well-respected member of your community. I think that's successful. Status is important, and status that you earn by being a respectable person that achieves things, whether it's for yourself or for others, I think is also successful. Let's go back to this chart for a minute. So let's go what having an abundance mindset looks like. It means you focus on the opportunities of a situation, and you see the potential for growth and improvement. This is the one I think is most important. You have the belief that there's more than enough resources to go around, leading to sharing, encouraging others, and openness. So when you believe there's no shortage, even when you have stuff, you like, you know what, I'm going to help someone else. I'm going to share it because there's more. But if you have a scarcity mindset and you have achieved something, you're like, I don't want to share this. I don't know if I ever have any more of this. Okay? And you believe that goals are add-ons to an already blessed life, and they are the possibilities are endless and motivation is effortless. For the people with the abundance mindset, goals are just a tool. They're not a grind. And the abundance mindset focus on what is within their control, leading to inspired action, calm, and confidence. Let's talk about that for a minute. Let me go back to this a minute. So here's another thing I've noticed people who are successful are really good at doing is they understand what they can accomplish with what they have at their disposal. That's the tools they have, the skills they have, the people in the sphere of influence, and the resources that have available to them. And they'll also look and say, well, there are certain things that I cannot control. So rather than have a lot of mental energy going to what is outside your control and what is unrealistic for you to have impact on, they double down on what they actually have control of. And this is important. This is where, for me, I know whenever things are not as great in my life as I'd like, I tend to focus on being healthy, because your fitness is virtually 100% within your control, as far as like your body weight, how much exercise you get. I mean, people like to make a lot of excuses. Again, remember, my main job is a martial arts and fitness instructor. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm telling you, in this realm, if you believe that your fitness is not in your control, you are a victim, and you have a victim mentality, and you're going to suffer because you're not going to be successful. There are always obstacles to overcome, but it's still within your control. So for me, I go, you know what? Maybe things aren't going the way I want, personally or professionally, but man, I'm gonna be in shape. I'm gonna be healthy. I'm gonna be happy with who I am, and that is an asset by itself, because now if you're healthy, you have energy and you have confidence, et cetera, et cetera. So focus on what's in your control. Let me go back to this chart. And last one, looks at life through a lens of gratitude, positively impacting everything they think, feel, say, and do. This is a big deal. And this is another thing that people who are, I don't want to use the word mentally weak, because that sounds really harsh. People who have a scarcity mindset, that sounds better. It's kind of the same thing. Is they are optimistic, but not stupidly so. Again, and even the most positive person is going to have a bad day. But it's again, like I said before, these things are transitory. They don't sit there and stew in it and have a pity party and woe is me. So I implore you to work towards embracing an abundance mindset, and it's not going to be easy. If you spent your whole life convinced that there's not enough to go around, convinced that you can't control the things in your life, convinced that you don't have what it takes because you weren't born lucky or blessed or rich, and I'm not gonna lie, if you were born wealthy, that's a huge advantage. I would say in America, having money when you start is probably one of the biggest advantages that there is, but it doesn't guarantee it. I know plenty of people, I'm sure you know stories too, who were born into wealth and they ended up, dying of a heroin overdose when they were 21 or something like that. So it's not a guarantee. And you'll appreciate it more if you build it yourself. So abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset is very, very, very important. I want you guys to understand that. I would say it's probably one of the most important things. And it's the one thing I know is all people that I know that are successful, whether they were born successful and stay that way, or whether they built themselves, are very much in the abundance mindset. All right, let's go on to part number 2, which is the body part. Not the part of your body, but the body part of our broadcast. And I'm going to talk a little bit about resistance training, and I've touched on this before. And so the benefits of resistance training, and this could be weight training, it could be body weight, it could be bands, it could be machines, whatever. So you're going to increase the calorie burn 2 hours after your workout. I've talked about that. That's the exercise-induced post-oxygen consumption. You're going to, which will increase your metabolic rate because you have more lean tissue. You're going to enhance your physique, so basically you'll be more aesthetically pleasing. Stronger bones because you're putting them through pressure and they will adapt by being more dense and stronger. Greater flexibility, so use correct range of motion whenever possible. And injury prevention. So if you are strong and healthy, you are far less likely to get injured. And if you're active, you're going to get injured. You're going to, roll an ankle or jam a finger, or you're going to do these things. But you're going to do those things if you're not active too. And the problem if you're not active and you don't have strong muscles and bones is your recovery is going to be much worse. And the injury itself will also probably be worse than if you were active and healthy and using strength training in some way. And again, if people have often asked me as a exercise expert, is like, well, if you can do what exercise is best, and I always say the exercise best is the one you're actually going to do. Okay, but when it comes to modalities, if you had to choose between doing low intensity cardio like you're jogging or resistance training, I will almost always go with resistance training. The only time I don't is if you have goals that are like you want to run a marathon. Well, then running will be a better version of exercise for you. But resistance training has so many benefits, and it's so good for your health, and it's so good for your longevity, and it's so good for your mental clarity, and the benefits are off the chart. And the chart I showed you as a few, but just the feeling you get of you've exerted yourself, you're getting stronger. You're building yourself up. You're going to look better. You're going to be healthier. It's just an amazing thing. So find a way to do it. Again, you don't have to do weight training. Weight training is the most efficient because I can calculate exactly how much resistance I need. I know at what point I can go no further. It's just easier to manage the math. But body weight's fine. Even activities that exert you, like we teach fitness kickboxing. Many of our members don't do any exercise outside that, but you're still getting resistance. You're hitting the bag. You're doing calisthenics. You're kicking. You're working your muscles through range of motion. Pilates, yoga, depending on how it's done. Obviously tumbling, gymnastics, a lot of dance. That one probably not as much because but either way, if you're putting a pressure on your body that makes your body have to adapt, you're going to be stronger and healthier for it. So resistance training is something I can go down a long rabbit hole on. So I'm going to stop right here because I don't want to turn this into a 4-hour broadcast. So make sure if you want maximal health or even optimal health or even better health, you are investing some time into your resistance training. It is the single best modality of exercise, if you can only do one, that you can do to improve your health, in my opinion, which, I know what I'm talking about. So part number 3. All right, talk about the business part a little bit. Now, this is a great quote. Great quote. If you want to increase your success rate, double your failure rate. Let me say that one more time. If you want to increase your success rate, double your failure rate. And we have in our society, Western society, specifically, I'm American, so I know it's similar to Western in general, but there's obviously nuances of each different specific culture. We have introduced a massive fear of failure in our culture. We have taken huge, great steps to ensure people are not offended, people are not losing, people are not falling behind, and there's it's well intended. I get the point, but we've instilled this fear of failure. Like if we got to make sure we do everything possible so you don't fail this task, or you don't get a bad grade, or you don't make the team. Or guys, there is really no better teacher than failure. In martial arts, and I'm sure other sports too, we have things like either you win or you learn. So when you lose a match or you don't get a place or you don't pass your exam, it's an opportunity for you to learn. And I tell this story to my students. I go, on my first degree black belt test a long time ago, I actually failed it twice in a row. I had to take it 3 times. And I was a competent student. It wasn't like I didn't know what I was doing, but I was overconfident. And I was like, there was parts of the test that I just didn't practice. I'm like, you know what? I got this. And on the test day, I didn't perform like I was supposed to. So the consequence was I didn't pass. And I had to wait a few months, try again, and the second time, didn't pass. That was very upsetting to me. So I made sure I solved the problem. I go, well, I'm going to practice these elements that I'm not able to perform on test day. Now, maybe I could have nailed it on a regular class day, but on the day of the testing, I wasn't able to do what I needed to do, and I did not pass the test twice in a row. So it's like 4, I don't remember, it was 2 months apart, 6 months apart, or 3 months apart. But there was 2 black belt tests in a row that I did not pass my exam. I had to do it again. I had to take it 3 times to pass my first degree black belt test back in 1991. It was embarrassing, and I learned. Well, don't take it for granted. Overconfidence is dangerous, and the lessons I learned from that are valuable. Now, what if I had the first black belt test and I didn't meet the standards. I didn't do everything I was supposed to do. And my instructor's like, you know what? I don't want you to feel bad, Daryl. So I'm going to go ahead and give you your black belt anyway. And this happens all the time in martial arts. So what would the lesson be there? Like, well, I showed up, I paid my test fee, didn't meet the standard, yet I was able to get the reward anyway. A black belt, which is, a pretty big deal. At least it should be, in my opinion. So this is the opportunity for me to learn from my failures. I believe it's very important. And in business, you are going to fail a lot. You're going to fail to meet customer demands. You're going to fail to meet shipping deadlines. You're going to fail to hire the right person. Your business may fail completely. You might have a business idea you are convinced is amazing and it fails, but these are all opportunities to learn and to improve your skill set. Because a skill is something you develop that helps you move in a certain direction to level up. So there's nothing wrong with failure as long as you add the opportunity to learn something from it. Now, if you just keep doing the same mistake over and over again, that's the definition of insanity in many circles. So obviously you want to make sure that when you do fail, because failure is painful, emotionally, physically, maybe financially. So you want to make sure that you you paid that price, that you get the benefit of learning a lesson from that. So that's important. So I'm gonna put that poster up again because I think it's so important. If you want to increase your success rate, double your failure rate. You triple it if you want. Again, that's for the business segment of today's broadcast, but really it applies to anything. I just told the story of my first black belt test. I had to take 3 times in a row. That was embarrassing. Even telling the story is embarrassing. But now it's a lesson learned, and it's real. This is one of those stories I made up. I actually had to take my black belt test 3 times, and even though I was competent. I mean, there was no good reason why I failed it even the first time. Just my overconfidence cost me, and it was embarrassing, and I had to pay for it again, and it wasn't much of a physical price. I mean, I was in shape. But anyway, all right. Well, hope you guys get some benefit from that. Let's review. So we had 3 topics today: scarcity mindset versus abundance mindset. I implore you, as a human being, that you start embracing an abundance mindset. I've met people who literally come from nothing, from poor countries, that have an amazingly abundant mindset, and they are very happy. They may not have the wealth that we think of as wealthy, but their mindset makes them appreciate and share what they have, which is a pretty cool thing. And make sure, if you are interested in having a body that doesn't suck and a healthy system, that you take some time and invest in resistance training of some sort. And I love this quote: if you want to increase your success rate, double your failure rate. Well, folks, that's been our broadcast today. Again, I am looking forward to your comments. If you have any, I hope you found value in that. And I just, again, and I when I teach these lessons, or I do these broadcasts, almost always it's not just like, oh, I read this in a book. These are things that I've screwed up on and still screw up on. So this is not some high and mighty thing like, oh, I have the woman of my dreams and the house of my dreams and the car of my dreams, and I got 40 million in the bank. And it's like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I have screwed all these things up. So I want to help you guys basically compress the time it takes to get it right. That's what mentorship is. That's what coaching is helping you achieve results in a shorter time with less penalty and less distress. So I hope you find it valuable. I will talk to you soon. Coach Jay out.